What's going on, everyone? Today we are here in the garden. It is mid-October and we only have a couple more days until frost. A lot of you are probably dealing with the same thing right now. You have all these peppers that you just don't know what to do with. You got to get them off the plants before it freezes, and you can't use them right now. The option that a lot of people go to is freezing. So today I came out here and I picked a bunch of peppers. We got some Bohemian goats and some Sugar Rush peaches. Picked a whole bunch of these and we're gonna go inside and get them packaged up and frozen. So I'm gonna show you guys how I do that. I've tried a few different ways and I feel like I have found the best way for me. So I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna show you guys how to get this done and how to save your peppers for the winter. All right, let's go inside and get these rinsed off and washed up, and then I'll show you guys how I do it. We are back inside, ready to get these peppers frozen. The very first thing you wanna do anytime you're dealing with peppers is put on gloves. You're gonna forget you messed with peppers at some point during the day and you're gonna regret it. Don't worry about the vacuum sealer for now. If you don't have a vacuum sealer, I'm gonna show you another way. So I'll show you both ways that I do it. Before we get too far into this, let me just kind of tell you guys, a lot of people don't like freezing their peppers because it changes the texture of the pepper. You're not gonna freeze your peppers and then still have this nice, crisp pepper anymore. When you freeze your peppers, it's gonna be soft. Okay, when you thaw it out, it is not going to be a crisp, fresh pepper anymore. What I freeze mine for is sauces. If you're going to make hot sauces, salsa, anything like that, freezing your peppers is a good way to go. If you want to use it for anything else, might not be the best idea. They're not going to be fresh anymore. They're going to be soft, okay? So that is one thing to get out of the way. There's no getting around it. Your peppers are gonna change their texture. The flavor's gonna be there, the heat's gonna be there, everything is gonna be the same other than the texture, okay? Okay. First thing we did is we rinsed off these peppers, right? Got them all rinsed off, and then we put them on a paper towel and we kind of patted them dry on the top and on the bottom. So we got these peppers as dry as we could. Reason being is if you put them in the freezer when they're wet, you're gonna form ice, you're gonna get freezer burn, and it's not gonna be good. Freezer burn on these peppers is the last thing you want. It's gonna change the flavor, it's gonna make them just taste weird, it's gonna change their texture, it's gonna do all sorts of things that you don't want. Make sure they are as dry as you can possibly get them. The second thing, and this is probably the most important thing when processing peppers in general. So anytime I process peppers, it doesn't matter how pretty the pepper looks, I'm gonna cut the pepper in half. The reason for that is a lot of times inside these peppers, you can get things like mold, bugs, stuff like that. And so even though it looks good, there's a possibility of it having mold or something inside that you just don't want. So I'm gonna show you guys a picture here of a pepper that I cut into. The pepper looked fine, and I cut into it a few nights back, and the whole inside was full of mold. And if I wouldn't have checked that, it could have potentially ended up in sauce or in powder or whatever I was doing with it. And that is not something you want. So here's a picture of it. That's what you want to avoid. So always, it doesn't matter how much extra time it takes, cut your peppers in half. Make sure that you're looking at your stuff, making sure it's clean, and that you don't need to worry about anything nasty. It's worth the extra effort. Don't process your stuff whole. Next, take your peppers and you just want to pull off the stem. I don't freeze them with stems. You can. I like to make everything as compact as possible, so anything that's not needed, I pull out of it. So I'm gonna do Bohemian goats first. So I'm gonna take off all my stems here. Go ahead and fast forward to this for you guys. Okay, that's all my Bohemian goats. So like I said, you wanna cut them in half. So cut them in half, and as you're going, this might be kind of hard to see with where the camera's at, but I'll kind of show you how I do it. So I'll cut it, and after I cut it, I'll just kind of open my fingers a little bit, and you can see inside the pepper. And so you can end up going pretty fast with it. So cut into it, look in there, make sure it's good, toss out to the side, just like that. It doesn't have to be slow, just cut into it, look at it, keep moving on. If it's gross on the inside, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see black stuff, you're gonna see you'll see when it looks bad, like the picture I showed you guys. So as you're going, just cut these peppers, make sure you're looking inside. You're not cutting them just to cut them, which cutting it does cut down on size. So if you have a lot of peppers, you might want to cut it up into smaller pieces. You want to keep everything as compact as possible. I don't have a deep freezer, so I've got some peppers at our grandmother's house. I've got a whole freezer full here. My wife probably hates me for it, but I've got a lot of peppers. And so when I do this, I cut them, I make them small, and then just compact everything as small as possible so I can keep as much as I can. So cut everything in half. Okay, Bohemian goats are cut. First, I'm gonna show you guys, if you don't have a vacuum sealer, this part's gonna be for you, okay? So I just got a vacuum sealer this year. Honestly, I didn't even buy it. My mom and stepdad had it and they just gave it to me. So I've used it a lot. But if I did have to buy it, I definitely would. Before I had a vacuum sealer, this is what I did. I would take a bag. This isn't a freezer bag. We don't have any at the moment, but you wanna make sure it is a freezer bag. It'll say freezer bag on it, freezer quart size bag, whatever it might be, depending on how many you have. I'm not gonna label this one because I'm not actually gonna use it. I'm gonna put the peppers in it and show you guys how I compress everything. But you take a freezer bag, make sure it is a freezer bag. It's gonna keep some of that stuff, that ice out, and keep it fresher or longer in the freezer. So when you put your peppers in, open your bag, fill it with your peppers. Okay, let's say this is all the peppers I had. I would close it, but I would leave just a little bit open, okay? I'm gonna scoot this stuff away so you can see what I'm doing. I'm gonna lay the bag, I'm gonna put everything down at the bottom. I'm gonna lay the bag down, and I'm gonna squeeze this as hard as I can, and I'm gonna roll this bag. And as I'm doing it, I'm squeezing out all the air I possibly can. And then as you get to the top where the zip is, the zipper, where the zip is, you seal that shut. And then what you have is a bag that is almost vacuum sealed. Not quite, but it is almost vacuum sealed. So before I had my vacuum sealer, this is what I did. Freezer bag, cut them up nice and small, roll them in the bag and get out all that extra air. Compress them down as small as possible, roll them up. Obviously you would label the bag, you would put what they're called and what the date is, okay? That is if you do not have a vacuum sealer. I do have a vacuum sealer, so I'm gonna show you guys how I do this. Here is the vacuum sealing bag that I have been using, this right here. It is a Food Saver brand right here. I'll put a link in the description below, but this is the one I've been using and it works really well for me. So there's that, and I can fit a lot in here. I'll show you guys. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put the kind of pepper and the date on this. It's much easier to do it if you do it first, because afterwards it's gonna be clumpy because the peppers are in there. I learned that the hard way the first time I did this. So write down the type of pepper and the date. So I've got that on there. And I'm gonna put all these peppers in this bag. Some people pull the seeds out of their peppers before they seal them. I don't. It's not a big deal if you do or you don't. Here these are, okay? I'm gonna set this in the vacuum sealer and get it sealed up, and then I'll show you what it looks like after. All right, so now this bag is much smaller. All the air is pulled out of it, and you're not gonna get any ice in here. This is gonna stay in the freezer for a very, very long time. I understand that not everybody can get a vacuum sealer, but this is the best way to do it. Second best way is gonna be your freezer bag and getting out as much air as you possibly can, all right? I'm gonna show you another kind of bag really quick, okay? This one is for if you have a lot of peppers and you don't wanna do 100 of these tiny little bags. They sell them in rolls, and you can make this bag as big as you want. You would just seal one side and then put them in here, vacuum seal it, and then it seals the other side. I will also put these in the description below because I use both of them. We put 100 pounds of tomatoes in these the other day to freeze those, and they can hold quite a bit. I'm also gonna put this in the description below. I know that this one works. It works really well. I have 35 pounds of peppers sitting in a grocery bag in the freezer because I was able to vacuum seal it all. I took an entire freezer full of peppers and it now sits in a grocery bag because I vacuum sealed it. You know how awesome that is? And that's gonna last forever. I'm gonna make hot sauce for the next year and a half with the peppers that are in there. It's great. Hands down, the best way to do it. I love it. If you found this video helpful informative, share it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, hit the bell icon, all that stuff. It's gonna help me out a lot. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.